Hey, True Believers England team here. So if you are in any way, shape, or form conservative, you've been attacked by the left in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's something that you think is very benign, you bring something up you think they're doing wrong, all of a sudden you're an ist, you're a phobe. I remember when Ironheart came out, my complaint was she should have her own identity. And because I didn't want her to be Iron Man, even though in the Iron Man comic she was called Ironheart, why can't she have her own comic? For that, I was called racist. But no one gets the ire of the left like people they believe they own turning on them in some way, shape, or form, or just merely disagreeing. Candace Owen, for example. If you're a black woman, forget about it. You cannot be conservative without catching their ire. If you're anything but a straight white man and yet you are you're going against what the left say you should be, they will attack you. There is a comic book writer who today went Carrie. In her own words, she went Carrie on the comic book industry. Thanks to LK for pointing this out. I figured it actually makes for a good story. I kind of dove in, read her tweets, read her blog, and she's got a story to tell. So I figured I would share with you. And with me is the real Dr. VENKMAN, except no substitutes.
How's it going, guys?
And we do have, in fact, LK in duck costume for some reason today.
It's not a
duck. That's a platypus. That's
a platypus.
That's
okay.
Carrie.
I am old, so we're going to put that. Yes. All right. Let's get first to the tweets that sparked this all up before we go to her blog here. She starts it off saying there are peeps in the biz who are very proactive in pushing me as a feminist comic icon that I don't speak to anymore. Heidi McDonald specifically told me to go after DC, but later said to me she didn't believe I was harassed, which to me is sociopathic and cruel. Yeah, they will quickly turn on you as soon as, like, especially if you have a complaint about somebody on your side.
Yeah. Oh, I remember specifically multiple articles on Bleeding Cool, that Rich Johnson wrote, that initially would be the classic, a certain person at DC Comics has been harassed, blah, blah, blah. And, definitely, used her story, for clicks.
Yeah.
Up until the point that, it started becoming problematic, shall we say.
All right. It goes on to say, or she goes on to say, and the way that these things interacted with my own personal life, my marriage is beyond the pale. There was nothing sacred to these people. I was made fun of and ostracized for supposedly being trans, and then criticized by the same damn people for not being pro-trans enough. So they started a rumor saying that she was a trans, I guess she started off as a man and she turned into a woman here. But then, of course, they turned around and said she's not trans enough. And that just goes to show all of the freaking inconsistencies. Anytime you try to make an actual argument, anytime you try to say, hey, you said this, you're wrong here, blah, 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 they will turn on you like they never said what they said. What were you gonna say, RDV?
Oh, well, no, that was LK. I was just going to say very quickly, that was one of the shocking things in terms of reading her tweet string here is I had no idea that they had tried pulling this trans trick on her, obviously in a negative fashion before trans became cool.
The trans is still not cool. And we're off the air. All right, let's see. But I'm talking about mainstream comics industry that's sort of in the shitter as it is. I'm talking about a legacy comics media well past its sell-by date. And I'm talking about some sociopaths in the biz whom I don't think can even recognize the damage they've caused. Oh, and while I was never a big talker about religion during my time in the comic book industry, I would constantly hear hostility about topics like God, Jesus, Christianity, and even vague stuff such as the idea of a soul. I'm not kidding. You know what? I know these type of people exist. My brother's one of them. Like, his idea of fun is going on a religious playroom. Just prove it. Yeah, no, I won't. You prove it. You know, you prove he doesn't exist. I actually turned around on my brother. You know, there's this thing is you cannot prove a negative, therefore I must prove a positive. I said, yeah, but if you are a true believer, then your faith, you must doubt your faith. Without that doubt, you cannot really truly have faith. You just know it's in the Bible. It's weird. I know I didn't quote it right, but I said, but you positively know there is no God, so therefore you are the one that must prove that there isn't. Alrighty, so it goes on to say a significant part, though definitely not all, of the comic industry saw the masses of readers, fans all across the U.S. as largely hicks to be embarrassed of, and the biggest goal was to replace those fans with a higher quality of readership, thus making their own jobs cooler. Gee, we don't see that happening ever, do we? This is not something. This is not something that's going on. I remember
I've never heard of this statement before in my life.
I know, right? There is nothing to back up what she is saying here except for everything. You know, I remember doing a video. They always talked about, you know, there's potential millions of women that want to read comics. And of course, it's very easy to look and go, no, they want to read manga. You're not giving them anything. And so one of the reasons why things are going the way they are is because they wanted this female audience, but they were willing to throw away the ones that they already had in order to bring them in. And now it seems like screw the women, screw the men. We just want the gays.
Valia, Internet, what's up? This is Valeria Durazo, who's basically used to work for DC and Marvel, has come out and was talking about how
she's calling out the hypocrisy of the comic book industry.
Yeah.
At one point, they said that she was trans. She's not. And then they say she's not pro-trans enough. They went after her religion. They go on ahead.
Oh, no, I was agreeing with you.
Okay.
The whole thing about, you know, first of all, rumors going around that she was trans, and then the whole thing that she wasn't pro-trans enough, like, that just spells out, like, the attitude of all these
she also
guys.
says she was allegedly groped by somebody.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna get to that. Because I read this and I was like, who is this lady? And then I went to her blog and she has this is what started it. She has a full-on story, so we're gonna go through that. Nerdette, if you would like to come on, you're more than welcome. Especially considering a lot of this you see it in the opposite view. It would be nice to have that viewpoint on the channel right now while we're talking about this. So if you would like to jump on, just say so.
Join the platypus.
There you go. A significant part, though, definitely not all of the comic book industry. Oh, I already read that. But I guess all those unwashed, uncool masses of plebs and commoners were basically the core of the entire damn marketplace. Yes.
What a shock.
We are. I'm sorry to say this, but it's a guy's medium. We are the ones that supported this all those freaking years, from the very freaking beginning all the way up. I mean, look,
and it's not
time,
that we tried
on.
to keep, yeah.
Let me put the footnotes in. There was a time between what we know as the golden age of the 50s, you know, what we know as the golden age before the 70s, not 70s, but before the Silver Age, when you had a plethora of titles. You would have romance, you would have Western. It was just all over the place. Now, of course, we do Marvel, DC, Independent, and Independent. You should find all the extra stuff. But a lot of girls would read it then, because you would have young romance. You would have things like, what was, I can't think of his name, but like Pat Boone, whom I guess people found attractive back then. You would have all these books that would appeal. And then the Comics Code came along and they got scared. They knew they could do virtuous stories with superheroes, and it kind of wiped out a lot of that stuff as they went. Anywho, let's get back to the story here. But the point is that I know for a fact in the 80s, we never kept girls out. Girls
nope.
wanted to be out. In
They
the
chose-
70s, same
Yeah,
damn
because
thing.
reading comics wasn't cool. There
wasn't.
were nerds. Girls
Now-
didn't like to. Jocks didn't like to.
As the lovely MARANYA in the chat here can attest, there's always exceptions to the rules. I mean, for cripe's sake, we had Flo Steinberg who worked there. We had Joe Duffy. We had oh my gosh, Jeanette
Louise
Kahn,
Simonson.
who almost destroyed and then saved DC Comics. Louise Simonson, please say it wrong. Who by all means is one of the most respected people in comic books. Nobody on our end anyway was keeping women out. Now, were the creators, were all these people who are popping up as these male feminists keeping them out? I wasn't an artist or a writer back then. Maybe Mark Waid was saying, ooh, this is the He-Man Woman Hater Club. Maybe he was. I always ask this question anytime I hear these male feminists pop up saying how bad it was in the 90s. Well, you were there, motherfuckers. Why didn't you do anything about it then? I didn't hear any big, oh, we got to be the... These people who are turning their backs on the readers now had a chance to do something back then.
Yeah.
Anywho,
I was just gonna say,
go on ahead, and then we're going to get back to the story. All right.
This just goes to, over the last several decades, one of the things that, especially these radical activists, and that's what I'll call them for now, have pushed is this idea that, well, no, everything has to be for everybody, and they refuse to recognize that there are basic biological differences, and there's certain things that boys and men like more, and there's certain things that girls and women like more. I mean, it's not a great comparison, but just as comics started out as more for boys and young men, but certainly if a girl was interested, feel free to read it. Easy bake ovens, they were marketed obviously towards little girls. Was there anything precluding a little boy to get an easy bake oven? No. Would most boys gravitate towards it? No, but there would certainly be a few, and that's fine. It's the same thing with comics.
There was I don't know if it was 2020 or 60 Minutes. I think it was early 80s, so it may have been 60 Minutes. But they did a study, and I remember watching this with my parents. Yes, I watch 60 Minutes sometimes, but when I was a kid. But this one I found interesting because it was asking, why do boys like, it was asking if you had no control, would boys pick boy toys and girls pick girl toys? So they got these kids and they said, go play whatever you want. And girls went to the pastels, they went to the Barbies, they went to this, and guys went to the trucks and the baseball bats and the gloves and the sports and all that kind of stuff. There was nothing saying boys over here, girls over there. The toys were all mixed in. It wasn't like one section, other section. And it's just what guys like. It's just what girls like. Now, that doesn't mean there's no crossover, and it's fucking stupid that I have to say that. But you do, because now we live in a freaking Twittiot land where everybody's like, well, actually, what we got here is... goodness gracious, drives me nuts sometimes.
Again, I mean, this is the pop culture equivalent of the whole STEM debate.
Yeah.
This decades long push of, well, no, girls have to get in STEM. Girls have to get in STEM. Girls have to get in STEM. Well, if you look at the numbers, they've increased marginally, but, far less than all of the emphasis, all the scholarships and everything that has been tossed into it to quote unquote try and get girls and women into STEM, just because on average, and again, this is average, girls aren't necessarily into it. Are there girls and women that are? Yes, that's great. And the field is open to them. Believe me, the field is open to them. But again, this idea of trying to push people into things that they don't want to go into. Actually, you can go back to volume 1 of Common America. Tim and Mark do a great job.
Hold on. Are we still on the air?
Carly's
Yeah,
origin.
yeah, we are. It's just that your stream guards are acting up. I know it says 0, but we actually have a lot of people watching.
Okay, I just want to make sure because my reading is saying 0, and I haven't seen a new.
I was
comment
waiting for you to say something.
Okay. Finally, a new comment popped up. I was like, wait a second, because this is exactly what happened at the Oscars, and I'm like, did we piss off some? They're saying that gay people have choices. Get them.
I've been really bummed because I thought I just gave a great monologue there, but
yeah,
it wasn't. I know I capped it off the wrong way. I do apologize.
I just want to say it is StreamYard because it did this awesome Tiki Puppet Show.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was a good monologue. I apologize. Let's see.
I mean, it was no Johnny Carlson, but yeah, it was all right.
And it's no Mysterio, so.
Yes, it
That's
was.
right. It was no
LK.
Mysterio.
It was absolutely not a Johnny Carlson. Okay, as Zach has said.
well,
that's the alternate universe.
That's it. Yeah, go easy on me, guys. It's been a day.
All righty.
Zach is in
That's
the
why
multiverse.
I was in a car with no air conditioning in Florida. I've got my bottle of water is always already 1/3. I used
I
to
need
joke,
to get some water actually.
I used to joke that with Gail that my live streams last the length of a bottle, and just like our sex.
You need a Kentwood jug now.
Yeah. Well, I will say this stream is going to get wild and wacky.
I guess so.
Weird,
Ron
wacky
Rugg is